Ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony is about to begin. We kindly ask that you silence your cell phones or any other electronic devices. In the event of an emergency, please follow the signs and exit through the large doors at the end and side of the building. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the video monitors.
"81 years ago today, on December 7th, 1941, the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, was the target of an unprovoked attack by the Japanese military. A turning point in American history, this fateful day launched the United States into World War II. Over 2,400 service members and civilians perished, and 19 U.S. Navy ships were damaged or destroyed. Among the destroyed was battleship USS Arizona, a 31,400-ton vessel and the largest ship in the U.S. Navy fleet. Of all the casualties that occurred at Pearl Harbor, almost half were on board the USS Arizona, whose hull remains where she sunk, a permanent resting place to those who died on the battleship. Today, we lay the keel for the next Arizona, the first Virginia-class submarine to be equipped with the Virginia Payload Module. Arizona's advanced capabilities will enable her to carry out her mission of protection and service, and will honor the legacy of Battleship Arizona and her crew. The men and women of General Dynamics Electric Boat are proud to build this newest Virginia-class submarine, a ship that will carry the name Arizona, a name that embodies the courage, resilience, and sacrifice of all who serve our great country.
Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the right of the stage to welcome our platform guests. Welcome first, electric boat welder Bob Hobday. Electric boat senior planner Scott Lackalade. Electric boat manager of operations John Miller. Electric Boat Vice President of Quonset Point, Ray Gabriel. Chair of the Arizona Commissioning Committee, Mike Hekomovich. Chair of the Arizona Commissioning Committee and former Secretary of the United States Air Force, Barbara Barrett. Supervisor of Shipbuilding Groton, Commander Scott Milhouse. Commander Undersea Warfighting Development Center, Rear Admiral Martin Muckian. Program Executive Officer, Attack Submarines, Jonathan E. Rucker. Commander, Navy Installations Command, Vice Admiral Yancey Lindsay. Mayor of Gilbert, Arizona, Bridget Peterson. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the president of Electric Boat, Mr. Kevin Graney, escorting the sponsor of the Arizona, Miss Nikki Stratton. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you please stand for the national anthem performed by Electric Boat Quonset Point Senior Planner Scott Lackalade. And please remain standing for the invocation by Manager of Operations at Quonset Point, John Miller, followed by a special Native American video invocation.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Blessings that we receive at thy hands. We are grateful for the men and women of the armed forces, and we're thankful to thee for those men and women who work here and serve this vessel while it is being built. We ask that thou wouldst watch over the men and women who construct this vessel, that they may do so in a way that makes her safe and secure for those who will serve on it. And we ask that thou wouldst bless the men and women who serve on this vessel, that they may do so with honor and with pride. And we say this in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the video monitors, where Ricardo Leonard, Vice President of the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian Community, will deliver a pre-recorded invocation from the USS Arizona Memorial Gardens in Talking Stick, Scottsdale, Arizona.
Hello, my name is Ricardo Leonard, Vice President of the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian Community, and also an American Army veteran. I'd like to thank the people for allowing me to do this invocation at this time, and I'd like to do it in my tribal language first, and then I'll interpret in English. Idan mapi ipi chush dash natuka amkaka mamanye higam hukyamu matmanyu kut amkaka mamanye versa chigam kep data iya jawata mam kikam versa chigam ar versa chigam kaka mamanye mak cirki ka ibdak makaka mamanyu ka hagam up makaka mamanye amak sapakam hagam mu mat masapot mat maapat ida tashkach. As the sun rises today, I ask that you watch over all those ones that have lost their loved ones, the wives, the children, all those ones. I ask, Creator, that you take care of them, continue to follow them, and give them strength. Creator, I ask that you bless those ones that have lost their lives, that gave their lives for this country, all the soldiers, all the veterans, all the civilians at that time that stood shoulder to shoulder to fight. I thank you for all these things. And I ask that you continue to follow the families, help them understand who their grandparents were, all the families that were lost at that time. And as it goes from child to child to child, I ask that you continue to keep that strong story. And bless all those ones at this time. And bless all the people that are at the congregation. How, Diga.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, the President of Electric Boat, Mr. Kevin Graney.
Please be seated. There's a few of us wearing leis this morning, so let's do this right. Aloha. Good morning, everyone. It's my honor, on behalf of the 19,000 men and women of General Dynamics Electric Boat, to welcome you to our Quonset Point facility and the keel laying for the future submarine, Arizona. This 30th ship of the Virginia class will be the first U.S. Navy warship to carry the name Arizona since the battleship USS Arizona, BB-39, which sunk in the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. Arizona was moored in Pearl Harbor's Battleship Row when Japanese carrier aircraft attacked. She was hit by several bombs, one of which penetrated her forecastle and detonated her forward ammunition magazines. The resulting massive explosion wrecked the ship's forward hull, collapsing her forward superstructure and causing her to sink, with the loss of 1,177 of her crewmen. The wrecked battleship's hull remained where she sank, a tomb for many of those lost with her. In 1950, she began to be used as a site for memorial ceremonies. In the early 1960s, a memorial structure was constructed over her midships hull. The USS Arizona Memorial is a permanent shrine to those Americans who lost their lives in the attack on Pearl Harbor and in the Great Pacific War that began there. Now, traditionally, the keel laying celebrates the ceremonial birth of a ship, and today, Nikki Stratton, Arizona's sponsor, will weld her initials onto a plate that will be affixed in a place of honor on the submarine. Nikki is the granddaughter of Donald Stratton, who served on the battleship during the 1941 attack and survived. The crew who serve on this ship will forever honor the memory of those who served on BB-39. They will do so fittingly on a ship uniquely prepared to enhance the reach of America's warfighters and to preserve our nation's freedom. The emergence of the great power competition between the United States, Russia, and China has made the need for submarines the highest it's been in modern history. And much like our experience in World War II, U.S. submarines will be the first to fight and hold the line. Arizona is the first Virginia-class submarine to be equipped with the Virginia Payload Module, or what we call VPM. And the VPM comprises 4 large-diameter payload tubes in a new hull section inserted into the existing Virginia-class submarine design. The tubes enable the submarine to deliver a variety of capabilities, including weapons, unmanned undersea vehicles, and other undersea payloads. And it will extend the hull by 84 feet and increase the Virginia-class submarine fixed strike capacity by more than 230%. Bringing the world's most complicated machine to our Navy requires teamwork among thousands of shipbuilders over the course of a submarine's design, construction, and delivery. And today I'd like to recognize shipbuilders here at Quonset Point who made significant contributions to PCU Arizona during the early stages of her construction. It gets better. Kyle Goff is an X-ray welder who is one of those shipbuilders, and he's been a team member with Electric Boat for 7 years. His weld acceptance rate is among the highest at Quonset Point. Kyle's work ethic, attitude, attention to detail, and focus on safety are exceptional. He works one of the most difficult units for radiographic welding, Section 3A, where the auxiliary tanks are welded into the hull. It is confined, it's hot, and it is a very difficult weld. He provides on-the-job training to our new team members and mentoring for existing team members. He takes tremendous pride in his work, and it shows. Kyle, would you please stand and be recognized? Chris Barnes is a member of our sheet metal shop, and he is the leader of a team responsible for sorting and categorizing parts in support of our strategic sourcing offload goals. resulting in the outsourcing of over 5,000 work orders and 7,000 cut parts. Chris's leadership helped increase the shop's throughput and closed work order volume and velocity, and improved work order volume and velocity by 29%. Chris is a model leader and teacher, and he trained a second shift sorter to expand our capability on the back shift. His work ethic enables him to perform these tasks while meeting or exceeding his daily goals. Chris's hard work, dedication, and positive attitude have enabled the sheet metal shop to deliver much needed high-quality parts in support of Arizona's construction. Chris, would you please stand and be recognized? Next is Meadow McCarran. She's a fluid systems engineer who joined Electric Boat in 2018. Meadow volunteered to come to Quonset Point Engineering in 2021 to support the construction of the boat she helped design, and I think I met her like a month maybe after she got to Quonset Point. She's been a key contributor in completing the first of its kind VPM two-pack assembled in what we refer to as the tube insertion fixture, or TIF. When challenges arose with the fixture's first use, Meadow worked with team members from operations, engineering, and inspection on process improvements, communication, training, and in setting daily expectations. And the result was a 60% reduction in the span time to produce VPM modules. Meadow continues to drive improvement opportunities, and it has been a privilege to watch her emerge as a leader here at Quonset Point. Meadow, would you please stand and be recognized? I also have the honor today to recognize our own group of distinguished shipbuilders, and those are employees who have served Electric Boat and, in turn, our country for more than 40 years. Would our distinguished shipbuilders please stand and be recognized? Thank you to all of our Electric Boat employees who have distinguished themselves through their good work. They represent individually the collective change our workforce is undergoing. Long-serving, very highly skilled shipbuilders are passing the torch to very talented next-generation shipbuilders so that they may carry forward the legacy of this important work for our country. And today we have some very special guests in our audience, and I am honored to welcome 7 members of our greatest generation. Sorry. First, it's an honor to have 2 survivors from Battleship Arizona participating in today's ceremony. We have a recording from Commander Lou Contour, who is 101 years old. Lou was a quartermaster, 3rd class, on watch the day of the attack. When the blast hit, Lou was knocked forward to the deck as others were blown off the ship completely. He and the other sailors began helping the wounded men. And we have a video of Lou, please.
Aloha. This is Lieutenant Commander Lou Contour. On December the 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. 1,177 Marines and sailors lost their lives aboard the USS Arizona. Ken Potts and I are the last 2 survivors. Today, December the 7th, 2022, you are honoring all of the men who served aboard. The USS Arizona from October the 17th, 1916 to December the 7th, 1941. Ken Potts and I are proud to have been part of the crew of the USS Arizona. On behalf of our shipmates, we will always remember, we will never forget Pearl Harbor and the USS Arizona. Mahalo.
And joining us live from his home in Provo, Utah, is another survivor from the USS Arizona, Ken Potts, who was also 101 years old. There he is. Hi, Ken. We can see you. Ken is a bosun mate first class who spent the night of December 6th in Honolulu. He was returning to the Arizona with fresh produce when the first Japanese bombers attacked the harbor. When he arrived, the Arizona was already on fire. He climbed aboard and began rescuing some of his shipmates. Thank you, Ken. It's an honor to have you join us today. We're also honored to have 5 World War II veterans here with us in the audience. First is Chief Petty Officer Wallace Johnson of San Leandro, California, who is 97 years old. Wallace joined the Navy in September 1941, and he served on the USS Jamestown, a motor torpedo boat tender, making landings on Guadalcanal and Bougainville and island hopping until he reached the Philippines and World War II ended. Also of note, Wallace worked on the Apollo space program with the original 7 astronauts. Next is Private First Class Cliff Sharp of Huntington Beach, California. He is 97 years old and will celebrate his 98th birthday on Friday, so I think we're going to have to sing happy birthday to him at the reception. All right, you all in? So Cliff joined the Army Air Corps in February 1943 and trained as a B-24 tail gunner. Staff Sergeant Bill Stewart of Balboa Island, California, is 93 years old. And he is believed to be the youngest living World War II veteran. And as a Boy Scout, Bill joined the Army Air Force 4th Fighter Command Ground Observer Corps. Bill then joined the Army Air Corps in September 1946, serving in the occupation of Japan. Major Billy Hall of Orange, California, is 96 years old. And he joined the Marine Corps in August of 1941 at the age of 15 and a half. You're going to have to tell the story on how that happened. I'm sure your mom didn't know. Well, Semper Fi, Marine. Billy went on to fly 150 dive and torpedo bomb missions as a rear tail gunner in the Pacific, including Guadalcanal and Peleliu. Billy is believed to be the last living veteran who enlisted before World War II and saw combat action in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. And from right here in Kingston, Rhode Island, I'd like to welcome Tony Fayella. Tony is 100 years old and served on the EB-built USS Spearfish in the Pacific as an electrician's mate first class. And during his time on board, Spearfish attacked Japanese shipping, conducted photo reconnaissance of Iwo Jima, and rescued 7 airmen from a downed B-29. Upon returning home, Tony went back to school and graduated from the University of Rhode Island and became an elementary school teacher and eventually principal of Mattanook High School. He is joined by his wife of 71 years, Betty. Welcome, Tony. And gentlemen, thank you for serving during a pivotal moment in our nation's and the world's history when the stakes were no less than the future of freedom and democracy. We also have a group of Navy ROTC students from Arizona State and the University of Arizona who will do their part to ensure our nation's continued defense. And if you would please stand and be recognized. Yeah. I don't see them, unfortunately. All right, and now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome our next speaker. Please welcome Program Executive Officer, Attack Submarines, Rear Admiral Jonathan E. Rucker.
So good morning and thank you. I'm going to ad-lib a little bit here to start. To be in the presence of such great Americans, those on the video and here, I think we lose sight as a group of what they did for this country. I'm not going to try not to break up a little bit. It is truly moving and honored to have you here, to see you all and to thank you personally for what you did. So I think for the group here, we just got to remember what they did for this country or we wouldn't be here. So thank you very much for everything that you all did. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate that. And then also, for the 71-year marriage, I'm going to go home and tell my wife we got a long way to go. So, and I'm going to probably have to talk to you about secrets, because how you kept such a lovely lady around, I got to tell my wife so that I can do the same. But it's truly an honor to be here and to celebrate this milestone of the future Arizona. And getting ready to chat, I kind of usually try to look at a little bit of more fun history about the state of Arizona. So I did a little bit of research. If you're familiar with what's called the Sunshine Protection Act, which would stop us from having to change our clocks twice a year during daylight savings times. So, all right, so I know some of you are like, holy crap. Arizona's way ahead of us. They haven't practiced the tradition since 1968. So pretty cool there. Also, if you've ever enjoyed a chimichanga, a classic burrito, a Mexican and American mashup, it was actually invented in Tucson, Arizona. If that makes you thirsty, I've got an aviator up here, so it might do this. Arizona's signature drink is a tequila sunrise. So for the aviator up here, right, some of you might be very fond of that. Lastly, for those of you that are movie buffs, several of the Star Wars movies, the movie Tombstone, the movie Three Amigos, and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure were filmed in Arizona. So I haven't figured out yet whether Kevin's Bill and I'm Ted or I'm Ted, but I'm working on that one. So pretty cool. On to more important things. The submarine, the 803, will be the first Navy vessel, as Kevin said, to bear the name Arizona in more than 80 years. The predecessor, USS Arizona, the battleship, was sunk 81 years ago today. And that's the piece of history that I think we have to continue to instill in our generation during that fateful day of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. We've already heard about the 1,177 people that were lost that day. If you have not been to that memorial, I highly recommend it. I've been there several times, and you can't help but get moved anytime you go there and recognize. I was actually there one day when there was a Japanese, so years ago, I'm dating myself, and an American that had both served together, and they come back every year. They've since died, but it was, you couldn't help but be moved to tears to watch the two of them embrace and just remember a piece of history that they both had lived through. Their sacrifice for those people that day will be a haunting reminder of what war can bring. The memory of the sailors lost that day will continue to fuel America's resolve to always be ready to deter or counter any aggression from those who would stand in the way of our way of life, threaten our citizens and allies, or ever dare to attack our shores. Our submarine force is critical to ensuring a tragedy like happened on December 7th, 1941, never happens again. Today's Keel authentication symbolizes the partnership between industry, workers who will build this awesome machine, the Navy that will use it to protect our Navy's interests and allies, and the American people who put our trust in us to perform our crucial jobs and keep them safe and free. It will take an unfathomable amount of skill to design, build, and operate a vehicle as technically advanced as the USS Arizona SSN 803. And as we were walking in, Admiral Lindsay and I were talking, and he said, hey, have you ever been out there and seen this stuff? And I said, if you look around at some of the things, and a lot of it's covered up, but if you just look at the sheer size and magnitude of what the team here works on, it's very impressive. It's awestruck every time I come. And I am up here fairly frequently having fun with Electric Boat. I don't know if they call it fun, but the boats in this class are the most advanced submarines ever designed. Their stealth, firepower, and maneuverability are superior to every other attack submarine in the world. Additionally, as Kevin pointed out, Arizona will be the first submarine, Virginia-equipped submarine with a Virginia payload module. And I don't think people realize as we retire the first 4 of the Ohio class that are going to get rid of cruise missile capability, which helped us in the Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and do things today. These platforms will be replacing that capability that the country so vitally needs. Building, operating, and maintaining Arizona and the other Virginia-class submarines is crucial to ensuring the Navy's ability to project power in an ever-shifting global threat environment and to maintain peace and freedom of the seas. I'd like to take a moment, so I'm going to ask you to stand, even though you're probably going to be pissed at me later. For the program offices, we lose sight of what the Navy does for this, specifically Captain Todd Weeks of the Virginia-class program team. You can stand. Stacy Evans and James Scheibel are all here. So please, just a round of applause for them who run the program. And then also for the partner here that's local for the government, the supervisor of shipbuilding. Where is it? Scott Millhouse represents the supervisor of shipbuilding, but there are other people here. They're on site here working partner hand in hand with Electric Boat. So thank you much as well for the command here. It's also important to recognize our industry partners. I know Kevin pointed some out, but none of what we would do, those of us wearing uniform, would be possible without the highly skilled and dedicated workforce here at the shipbuilders, both here and at Newport News. Continuing critical partnerships between the Navy and the defense industry and training and recruiting new men and women are key factors to maintaining a ready and capable fleet, to maintain safety and freedom both here at home and our interests overseas, and to defeat our adversaries when we have to. I think I can speak for every submariner, past, present, and future, when I say that we'll be forever grateful for everything that Electric Boat team does to build our fleet. I know the days are long. I know the work takes a physical toll, and I have seen people in the tanks, so I understand how hard it is. But I also know it's more than just a job for you. It's a dedication in ensuring that every submarine is the tip of the spear and will defeat our adversaries, to ensuring that we, America, are always ready. Thank you for everything you do, for the team standing here, and for those around Electric Boat that are watching the video. Today is a tremendous occasion, not just for our industry partners who will craft this submarine over the coming years, but for the future sailors and crews who will deploy aboard Arizona, taking her into the ocean depths, behind enemy lines, unseen, always on call, and always ready to deter any threat. As we remember the brave American heroes who were taken from us 81 years ago today, may their ultimate sacrifice help fortify and dedication and fuel the efforts of every shipyard worker who will have a hand in crafting our submarines, and every man and woman who will have the honor to serve aboard them. Thank you very much for this opportunity to be part of this historic ceremony, and looking forward to the future together. I'd now like to introduce the sponsor of the Arizona, Miss Nikki Stratton. She got to wear the best outfit for the day, I was telling her earlier. Nikki's grandfather, as we heard, Donald Stratton, was serving that fateful day, December 7th. Though badly burned, he survived. He was discharged in 1942, sent home, but due to his resolve, successfully re-enlisted in 1944 and returned to the Pacific Theater to fight in campaigns in New Guinea, the Philippines, and the Battle of Okinawa. That's the resolve that we should all remember. He worked through the remaining part of his life to help honor the memory of Pearl Harbor and those who gave their lives to serve this country. He died in February 2020 at the age of 97. Nikki loves to share the story of her grandfather's survival in a moment that will ever be remembered and left a mark on this nation. She works to honor the legacy of those that have come before us and to prepare the way for those yet to come. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the ship sponsor of the future Arizona, Miss Nikki Stratton.
I gotta remember to breathe. Ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, dignitaries, thank you for being here today on this special day. It's a day that many never thought would happen, and it is the rebirth and revival of a great, hallowed, and treasured name, the USS Arizona. Today marks a new chapter in the USS Arizona legacy. Now, this is such a special moment, but in no particular order, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge a few people that I am blessed to know, and I would not be here without them today. If you feel so inclined and are able, please stand to be recognized. The first gallant men to recognize are Ken Potts and my grandfather, Donald Stratton. These heroic men represent the survivors of the USS Arizona BB-39, and they are the fortunate ones who went on to lead whole and happy lives. These men lived the lives of 1,177 men who did not make it off the ship that day 81 years ago. I only wish my grandfather were alive today to see this. My parents, Randy and Kathy Stratton. Both of you are the best parents a girl could ask for. You gave me the strongest foundation in which to live my life, showing me the selfless love you both possess. You made many sacrifices for me, and they did not go unnoticed. I would not be standing here today without you both. And to my sister Jessica, thank you for always being there for me through thick and thin. Terry Man Wyatt. Terry represents 1,177 men we lost 81 years ago, who never returned to their families. These sailors, whose lives were cut short in an instant, will forever be remembered because of you. Terry represents the 100 or so unknown USS Arizona sailors whose remains were laid to rest in the punch bowl in unknown, unidentified graves. They are still awaiting return for their families like yours, those families without answers. Miss Joanne George Taylor. Joanne represents the lifeline that was thrown across generations by her father. In a single act, his choice rippled through time to where we stand today. There are not enough words to thank you and your father for what he has done for my family. This single act is the start of all the heroic deeds that will transpire throughout the course of World War II. To Mr. Ken Geyer, you represent the untold stories, the lost stories, those that never made it onto paper. All the gallant men gave voices to those who would otherwise have been forgotten. You gave my grandfather a gift that can never be repeated nor paid for, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. To the Honorable Thomas Modley, you represent a vision that has finally been realized. You had the foresight to see this moment in time, knowing that we desperately needed this in our country today. Your vision fulfilled my grandfather's dying wish of never forgetting the USS Arizona and her crew, and for that, I thank you. Next are Monk Nash, Abigail Previtz, Grayson Wyatt, and Landon Nestrick. Each of these young, inspiring individuals are the Navy's future and her history. They hold within themselves the story of BB-39 and her crew, and the future stories of those who will serve aboard the submarine. They are the historians, the storytellers, and the gatekeepers of the immense legacy. I could not have asked for a better group of youngsters to continue this great and historical journey. Last, but certainly not least, my incredible fiance, Mike. You have entered my life and made it so much better and brighter. You have been with me during my dark moments, from burying my grandfather and grandmother, to my most unsettling moments, like speaking to a large group of Navy servicemen and women in a fancy evening gown, to my most joyful moments, such as days like this. There are just too many memories to count. You are my rock, and I'm so thankful we get to share this once-in-a-lifetime event together. Okay. 81 years ago this morning, the United States woke up at peace but that was soon shattered by the news spreading across the globe of the attack on Pearl Harbor. A battle cry soon arose, for it came with the destruction of 1,177 lives aboard a single ship. Remember Pearl Harbor. Remember the USS Arizona. A simple but effective message that rallied the United States to the war effort. My grandfather, Donald Stratton, was one of the lucky and blessed ones that lived through that horrific explosion, burning nearly 65% of his body, leaving him with unhealed wounds, aching scars, and a lifelong anxiety of loud noises, saved only by a hero named Joe George. Joe threw him a lifeline from the USS Vestal, a ship that was parked horizontally to the Arizona. A single action changed the course of history. My grandfather lived by the mantra, remember Arizona, every single day, every single hour, every single minute. After recovering from his injuries and teaching himself to walk again, he sought to re-enlist in the Navy. He was accepted on one condition, that he complete naval boot camp once again. Taking that battle cry to heart, he graduated boot camp and resumed duty aboard the USS Stack, fighting to avenge his fallen shipmates from the Arizona. After leaving the Navy at the end of World War II, he faithfully honored his shipmates, remembering them and ensuring their legacy was never forgotten. A war memorial was erected over the USS Arizona in Pearl Harbor with a shrine room depicting the names of all the men who perished. This is a stark and visual reminder of to continually recognize those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our nation's freedoms. The memorial also includes the unknown sailors buried in the Punch Bowl Cemetery, still waiting to have their name returned to them through DNA identification. We will remember them. We will not forget the sailors and Marines of USS Arizona. On February 20th, 2020, my life changed forever. I lost my grandfather, and the world lost a true hero. My grandfather was one of the most vocal historians about Pearl Harbor and the USS Arizona. He very much enjoyed teaching the new generation about that tragic day. We didn't know of a world without him. It was at his funeral that the vector of my life was adjusted, leading me closer to where I stand today. Acting Secretary of the Navy Thomas Modly pulled me aside after the most challenging day of my life and asked me to sponsor the newly announced USS Arizona. He told me to think about it, but through tears I told him I didn't need a day, I didn't need a minute or even a second. I knew in my heart that this was a gift from my grandfather, a way to ensure his dying wish was continuously fulfilled, and a way to bridge generations with Pearl Harbor and 81 years and counting of history. His wish of no one forgetting the USS Arizona and the men who served aboard her is now a reality. I can honestly say I never saw myself in a position like this, speaking to groups of people about my grandfather's story and the future USS Arizona. It's the most rewarding experience of my life, and it is only just beginning. Another life-altering change and course, and the best is yet to come. The future is unknown, constantly shifting and changing with the sands of time. But there is one thing that we do know beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the crew of SSN 803 will stand watch, silently patrolling the ocean's depths in the most advanced submersible on the planet. The Arizona will play a pivotal role in protecting our country, our nation's military, and our allies across the globe. She will strike fear into the hearts of our enemies and those who threaten to take our freedoms that we enjoy away. She will also become a beacon of hope. When our surface navy is on patrol or in dangerous seas, the sailors on those ships will know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the USS Arizona is prowling the deep waters below, offering aid and deterring any potential threat. She is the hope, the answer, and the beacon when the days are dark and our enemies are at our doorstep. Our nation's beloved battleship has been quietly laying in Pearl Harbor for 81 years, watching and listening for a renewed battle cry. Remember Pearl Harbor, and remember USS Arizona. The sound has been called, and from the depths, Arizona reemerges, reborn and remade, and battle ready. The vengeance of 1,177 U.S. sailors and Marines will be in her wake. And only the salty battleship sailor, Ken Potts, who survived 81 years ago, can give these words to the future crew and ship. He says, "Give 'em hell." Now I think it's time to get this show on the road. Time to weld my legacy and my grandfather's legacy and the legacy of 1,177 into this new keel plate for the USS Arizona, SSN 803. Long may she rule the deep. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. That was incredible. Very, very moving. We're honored to have you here. So, ladies and gentlemen, today Nikki will join electric boat welder Bob Hobday to weld her initials onto the keel plate. Bob joined Electric Boat in 1975 and rose through the ranks to become one of our most experienced welders. He now works as a principal manufacturing representative on the Columbia ballistic missile submarine. Bob, you ready? All right. So we're doing something unique for the first time as far as in our history, and that is Nikki knows how to weld. So for those of you who haven't participated in these ceremonies before, what we have typically done is the sponsor would oversee the welding by our welder, and today she will actually put some bead down. So it's a special day for that reason alone. All right, let's take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, although the welding will be shielded, for your safety, please direct your attention to the video screens and do not stare directly at the welding.
Arizona, another tequila sunrise, staring slowly across the sky. Said goodbye. He was just a hired hand, working on the dreams he planned to try. The days go by. Every night when the sun goes down, just another lonely boy in town. She's out running round. She wasn't just another one, and I couldn't keep from coming on. Been so long. Oh, and it's a hollow feeling when it comes down to dealing friends. It never ends. Take another shot of courage. Wonder why the right words never come. You just get numb. It's another tequila sunrise. This old world still looks the same. Another frame.
mountains, deserts and streams, the rise of Dos Cabezas, and the outlaws I see in my dreams. I love you, Arizona. Superstitions and all, the warmth you give at sunrise, your sunsets put music in a soul. Arizona, you're the magic in me. Arizona, you're the lifeblood of me. I love you, Arizona. Desert dust on the wind, the sage and cactus are blooming, and the
And now Nikki Stratton will authenticate her initials.
skin. Arizona, you're the
I declare this keel to be well and truly laid.
And we've already made her an offer as a welder. So, well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And this concludes the keel laying ceremony for Future Submarine Arizona. We're going to be taking a lot of pictures. So if you want your picture taken up here with our sponsor or with any of us, come on up and let's celebrate. Thank you.
I was born and raised around Red Cloud, Nebraska, which is about mid-state in Nebraska, about 6 miles from the Kansas line. Graduated from high school in Red Cloud there, proceeded to go in the United States Navy. Enlisted in Omaha and went to Great Lakes, Illinois for boot camp. Back home for about a week and back to Great Lakes and across the top of the United States through Montana and to Bremerton, Washington on a train, and caught the USS Arizona at dry dock in Bremerton, Washington. So from there, a lot of dock work there. They were repairing the ship and had a lot of dock workers around, and we scraped and painted the sides in dry dock. And after it went in dry dock, got out of dry dock, went to Long Beach for a couple of days. Went from there to Pearl Harbor here and went out on maneuvers quite often and done some gunnery practice and whatever it takes and training, and back into Pearl Harbor, back to Long Beach in June of 1942 or 41, and back out to Pearl Harbor, and we're here December the 7th when the Japanese pulled their sneak attack on us. And my battle station was a site setter and the port anti-aircraft director, which was one deck above the bridge on the Arizona. And I just finished eating chow and picked up some oranges to take to my buddy down sick bay. And went to my locker for something in the big passageway, and then went out on the port side on deck and on the forecastle, and some sailors were yelling, pointing toward Fort Island, and so I went to take a look, and I could see the bomb burst over there, and thought I seen the water tower or the dive tower or something go over, and about that time one of the planes banked off to a different direction. I could see the insignia on the wing, and I thought, boy, this is the Japanese. This is more than just a drill, you know. So I started from my battle station. I knew what was going to happen, and I had to go up, you know, a deck to the radio shack, a deck up to the signal bridge, and on deck up to the bridge, and then another deck on up to the platform where I was at. And the director is an all-enclosed unit that turns, and they were setting sights and a pointer was getting on target, and the trainer was getting on target, and I was setting sights. We booked some locks, get some ammunition. We started firing at the planes. Couldn't fire it at the torpedo planes because they come in on the vessel side, was tied up alongside of us, and we concentrated on the high altitude, which we were shooting at about 90 degrees, and we could see our bursts falling way short. And so about that time we got a couple of bombs hit on the aft of the Arizona, and we felt a little vibration from that and whatever. Then we caught the big boy that went down beside the number 2 turret on the bow of the ship, and it got into over 1 million pounds of ammunition, fuel oil, and a couple of 100,000 gallons of aviation gasoline. Blowed 110 foot of the bow of the ship when they're off, and cleared back to the base of number 2 turret, and a ball of fire went in the air about probably 500-600 feet, just engulfed the whole superstructure up there where we were at. And of course the admiral and the captain were killed one deck right below. So it took on the port and starboard side. You have to understand that there's a port side, a starboard side, and there's so many men on each side. So we had to, when it was all the smoke, fire kind of died down, the wind blew the smoke away. Well, there was only about 6 of us left up there, so we got the attention of a sailor on the vessel, and he threw us a heaving line, and we tied on a heavier line. We pulled it across and tied it off on the Arizona, and we proceeded to go hand over the line to the vessel, which was probably about 40 feet in there and about 60 foot across, maybe, or whatever. It was a long ways anyway, but anyway, had a lot of help from the good Lord getting across there, and was on the vessel for a while, and they sent us on a shore boat to the beach. We got on an open air truck, went to U.S. Naval Hospital on the island here, and was there for a number of days, and we're going to send a group back to the United States. So I said, well, I'll go. No, we don't think you can make it right now. We'll send you at a later date. I said, no, I want to go now. I'm ready to go. Well, if you stand up while we change this linen on the bed, why, we'll take you. So I stood up, and they changed the linen, and I laid back down, and I didn't get up for quite a long time after that. But I was burnt over between 60 and 70% of my body. So they sent us back we got back to the States on Christmas Day and went to U.S. Naval Hospital in Vallejo, California. And was there for till about September, I think, of 1942, and then they sent us to Corona for a little while, and they'd taken over a hotel there, and they had these mineral baths, and they had a swimming pool, and they had a few things like that. But they said, well, you're not going to make it really good for a while. You're still not in good shape, so they medically discharged me. So I went back to Nebraska and was around there for about a year or so, and still not much going on back there, and still just getting out of the 30s, and we weren't making much money, and all my friends and buddies were all in the service, so I re-enlisted and went back into the Navy. Had to go through the draft board, but I had a couple of friends on the draft board, and they got me in there, and got to Omaha and got the permission from the Navy to go back in. They said, good news and bad news. You can go back in the Navy, but you got to go through boot camp again. So I went through boot camp. I said, oh man. So I went through boot camp again. They wanted me to stay there and push I was a recruit CPO there, and they wanted me to push some more boots through camp there, and I said, no, I want to go to sea. So they sent me to Treasure Island. I caught a destroyer, the DD-406, USS Stack. And we went to the South Pacific, where I participated in about, I guess, probably 6 invasions, including 2 or 3 in New Guinea and both invasions of the Philippines and Okinawa. And about that time, they sent me back to school in electrical hydraulic school in San Diego. And I went home on leave for 30 days, come back, the war was over. Being an old salt and been in the service before, I wanted out. I said, I got enough points to get out. They said, no, you got to finish the school. So I finished the school, and they sent me to St. Louis, Missouri, and they discharged me December the 4th, 1945, for the second time. That's my story outside of I want to keep this in front of the American public, and I want them to not forget about our flag and what it stands for, and I want for people to say a prayer for our troops that's doing such a hell of a job for us right now.